Hello everybody, my name is Kris Connors from CustomWoodCarvings.com, and today I'm going to show you how I carve an eagle. It's a 4-foot log about 18 inches thick, and I'm going to draw that to scale. And let's take a look at that. Okay, here's my sketch, and I have found this works so well. It takes out all the guesswork. You can see here's my basic log here, and I've broken it down into a grid, and so each one of these here is 1 foot. So 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. So it's a little over 3.5 feet tall. I know that if it works on paper, it's going to work on the carving. Absolutely. Okay. So you can see the thing that makes this system work is you got verticals, one line down the center, one line down the middle, right? And then you quarter it and quarter it that way. Okay? And the only views that you really need are 2 views. You need a profile view like this from the side, and you need a frontal view like this. And then I did a back view just so I can see how far down to make the tail feathers and stuff. Now, when I do this, I research this. I'm not just coming out of my head with this stuff. I get books on eagles. I study them. I look at the proportions. And so let's talk about proportions here for a second. All right, when we look at proportions, what we're looking at is this. We're taking a part of the body and we're going to call that a unit. And we're going to use that unit. In drawing, this is called siding. So let's say the head here is a unit. From here to the beak, right? Let's say it's like the width of my finger. All right, so here's 1 unit. If I take that again, here's 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, okay? So from here to here, and this is I do this from a photo first. I get these from a photo and go, okay, well the body is basically 4 heads long. All right, and then add a 5th, like a 1.5 for the tail feathers. Okay, I do the same thing now. If I take 4 head lengths, right, and then turn it on its side, and now go this way, right, so like here, 1, 2. Okay, it's basically 2 body lengths for the length of that wing. Okay, as long as you do this, you take 1 unit and you use that as your measurement, your proportions will work. They'll look very realistic and very natural. And this is called siding, and I use it all the time. So what I do with my customers is I make a sketch, and once they approve that sketch, I tell them it's going to look just like the sketch. So if you want to make any changes now, you got to do it now. So what's nice is I know what I need to make, the customer knows what they're getting, and it works really good. So the next step is to take that sketch, go to the log, and with a tape measure, and just start measuring and drawing lines. Now before I start drawing lines, I need to look at my sketch, because where are the critical areas? The face is a critical area. So I need to make sure that I'm putting that face on clean wood, that there's no knots or anything like that. Okay? So let's take a look at the log. Here, right away I could see there's a nasty spot right here. So I definitely am not going to put the face there. If I look around, here's another one, nasty spot. And so here's a pretty clear area right in here. This looks like it'd be a good spot for the head of that eagle to go. Alright, the next step is, I want to just start cutting out big chunks. I want to get rid of wood quickly. So which one of these views gets rid of the most wood? This one definitely. Right? I'm going to come in here, I'm going to measure between the 2 wings. I'm going to find where the center is first, and then measure from here out. And I know that's about 4.5 inches here, and 4.5 inches this way, make my marks, come in. Then I got to measure from the top down to know, well, how far down should I cut, and just make that measurement. And you always start thick, okay? You leave the carving nice and thick first. You can always refine it later. If you try to go right to the lines and get exact, you're going to start making mistakes and run into trouble. So I'm going to remove this center area, and I'm going to come in here and remove all this side area is my next step for carving. Alright, so here's what I did. I marked the center line. By the way, I use these lumber crayons and these holders, and I like the holder because I always lose the crayons. So this thing keeps it's yellow. When it falls in underneath the sawdust or whatever, it's easy to find. Right, measured 4.5 out, 4.5 out. I'm going to cut straight down these lines. I put a mark here to show where to stop, and then it's going to come down to this line, which is the top of the eagle. And then I also put a line here to show where the base is. This is going to have a 4-inch thick base that the carving is going to sit on. By the way, this is an oak log. I don't like to carve oak because it's hard wood, but I'm doing it because one of the things that I do with people who want a stump carving is I can carve it on site on scaffolding and everything, and sometimes they're up to an hour away, and that's a lot of travel time. So it's cheaper for the customer if I go out there, cut the log down, piece that I need, bring it back to my place, I'll carve it here, and then I'll reinstall it on the stump. It also is more healthy for the carving because it's completely disconnected from the trunk, so no moisture can come back up that wood. And I put little spacers on when I install it, so there's air underneath that carving, keeping that wood nice and dry and healthy. Alright, before I cut into the log, I want to make sure my chain is nice and sharp. There's nothing worse than trying to carve with a dull tool. It's dangerous. So I do this, and by the way, the large chunks I take off with just a normal 18-inch bar. This is not a special carving bar or anything like that. And this is like a 35cc saw here. So I'll sharpen that up. And by the way, I use hand. I do it by hand. I don't use a power sharpener because it's not as it ruins the quality of your chain when you use those power ones. Alright. Okay, so here's the frontal view blocked out. Okay, so here's the frontal sketch, and here's the frontal blockout stage. Now what I'm going to do is come over to this side and block out the profile view. Alright, so here's the profile blocked out now. And you'll notice that I'm using this red cart here. This is a hydraulic cart. And you have a little foot pedal here like this. And this is awesome because you just pump it with your foot and it raises up nice and easy. So now we can see we've got the basic form of the eagle is starting to appear. What I'll do next here is take all the bark off. I'm going to use my big saw here to do that.